Donald Trump today vowed to impose a 200% tariff on John Deere's imports.
Just back in June, John Deere announced that they were relocating specific production lines to facilities in Mexico. Now, Donald Trump disagreed with this decision and left a significant threat that would ultimately affect the company's bottom line.
I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
John Deere, the legendary green titan of American agriculture, has just ignited a firestorm shaking the nation to its core. What was supposed to be a routine corporate update has erupted into a seismic political and economic clash, one that threatens to redefine not just the future of American manufacturing, but the very identity of the nation's industrial backbone. For over 180 years, John Deere has symbolized strength, self-reliance, and rural pride. But now, it stands at the center of what experts are calling the most explosive trade confrontation of our time. The stakes couldn't be higher. The ripple effects are already tearing through America's heartland, and the world is watching. The bombshell dropped without warning. John Deere executives, in what appeared to be a calculated strategic move, announced their intention to establish a major new manufacturing operation south of the border in Mexico. This isn't some distant future possibility or theoretical expansion plan. Construction crews are already mobilizing, ground will be broken within months, and the facility is scheduled to begin full production by 2026. The investment totals a staggering $55 million, and the factory will produce mid-frame skid steer loaders and compact track loaders, precisely the type of equipment that represents the fastest-growing segment of the global agricultural machinery market. But the real explosion came from the political response. Within hours of the announcement, former President Donald Trump launched into a blistering public attack that reverberated from Iowa cornfields to Wall Street trading floors. Speaking at a campaign rally, Trump didn't just criticize the decision, he declared war on it. His words were unmistakable and unprecedented. Any John Deere equipment manufactured outside American borders would face a crushing 200% tariff upon re-entry to the United States. This wasn't diplomatic language or negotiating rhetoric. This was a direct threat designed to force one of America's most important companies to reverse course or face economic devastation. The timing couldn't be more politically charged. Rural America, which forms the cornerstone of Trump's electoral base, suddenly found itself caught in an impossible position. On one side stands the political leader they've supported through multiple elections, promising to bring manufacturing jobs back to American soil. On the other side sits the company that literally keeps their farms operational, providing the tractors, harvesters, and equipment that make modern agriculture possible. For farming communities across the Midwest, this isn't just a policy debate, it's a crisis that strikes at the heart of their economic survival. John Deere's leadership team didn't arrive at this decision overnight, or without careful consideration. Behind the corporate boardroom doors, executives had been wrestling with increasingly dire economic realities that threaten the company's long-term competitiveness. Manufacturing costs in the United States had reached unsustainable levels, driven by a perfect storm of factors that were bleeding the company's profit margins. Labor shortages across American manufacturing had driven wages to historic highs while simultaneously reducing productivity. Supply chain disruptions that began during the pandemic had never fully resolved, creating persistent delays and cost overruns that affected every aspect of production. Meanwhile, international competitors were gaining ground at an alarming rate. Companies like Kubota from Japan and Mahindra from India had perfected low-cost manufacturing strategies across Asia, allowing them to offer similar equipment at significantly lower prices. These foreign manufacturers weren't just competing on cost, they were innovating rapidly, introducing new technologies and features while maintaining price advantages that John Deere simply couldn't match using traditional American manufacturing approaches. The Mexico decision represents more than just cost-cutting, it's a strategic positioning move for global market access. Labor costs in Mexico run approximately 70% lower than comparable American wages, but that's only part of the equation. Mexico offers John Deere direct access to the fastest-growing agricultural markets in the world. Countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia are experiencing explosive growth in agricultural production, driven by increasing global food demand and technological advancement. These markets represent the future of agricultural equipment sales, and manufacturing closer to these customers provides enormous logistical and cost advantages. American ports and transportation infrastructure have become serious bottlenecks for companies trying to serve global markets. Congested ports, unpredictable freight schedules, and aging transportation systems create delays and cost overruns that make American manufactured products less competitive internationally. A Mexican facility provides John Deere with multiple shipping options, shorter transportation routes to key markets, and the flexibility to respond quickly to changing demand patterns across Latin America. The $55 million investment isn't just about building a factory. It's about building a platform for future growth in markets that will determine John Deere's competitive position for decades to come. The equipment being manufactured mid-frame skid steer loaders and compact track loaders serves small to medium-sized farming operations that represent the fastest-growing segment of the agricultural market globally. These machines require advanced technology, precision engineering, and competitive pricing to succeed in international markets. Trump's response was swift and devastating in its implications. Standing before a crowd of supporters in Iowa, he framed John Deere's decision as nothing less than a betrayal of American workers and values. His language was deliberately inflammatory, designed to mobilize public opinion against the company. John Deere just spit in the face of American workers, he declared, his voice rising with each word. They want to build our machines somewhere else. Fine, but they will not bring them back here without paying dearly. The crowd's response was immediate and enthusiastic, signaling that this message resonates powerfully with Trump's political base. But this wasn't just campaign rhetoric, it was a direct threat with specific policy implications. The proposed 200% tariff represents one of the most aggressive trade measures ever suggested against an American company. Such a tariff would effectively triple the cost of any John Deere equipment manufactured in Mexico, making it prohibitively expensive for American farmers and potentially destroying the economic rationale for the Mexican facility entirely. John Deere's response demonstrated the company's determination to proceed despite political pressure. Rather than backing down or apologizing, company executives issued a carefully crafted but firm statement defending their decision. They emphasized that the Mexican operation would affect less than 5% of North American production, with the vast majority of John Deere's manufacturing, including all large tractors, combines, and harvesting equipment remaining in American facilities across Iowa, Illinois, and other states. This response reveals the company's broader strategic thinking. John Deere isn't abandoning American manufacturing, it's optimizing its global production network to remain competitive in an increasingly challenging international marketplace. The company's executives understand that without this kind of strategic flexibility, John Deere risks losing market share to international competitors who already enjoy significant cost advantages. Wall Street's reaction provided crucial insight into how financial markets view this conflict. After an initial drop following Trump's threats, John Deere's stock price not only recovered, but actually strengthened. Investment analysts from major firms, including Goldman Sachs and Bloomberg, issued reports supporting John Deere's strategic decision, calling it necessary for long-term competitiveness. The financial community's logic was straightforward. Global agricultural demand is shifting toward emerging markets, and production capacity needs to follow that shift to remain viable. Some market analysts suggest that Trump's tariff threats might actually benefit John Deere in the long run. If such tariffs are implemented, they would apply to all foreign manufactured agricultural equipment, not just John Deere products. Since John Deere still manufactures the majority of its products in the United States, while competitors like Mahindra, Yanmar, and Kubota manufacture primarily in Asia, John Deere might actually gain a competitive advantage if tariffs are imposed across the board. The political battleground expanded rapidly beyond Trump's initial statements. Republican senators from agricultural states issued public warnings to John Deere, demanding the company reconsider its plans. The House Agriculture Committee announced plans for congressional hearings to examine the implications of American agricultural equipment manufacturers moving production overseas. The White House began exploring whether government contracts and subsidies could be restructured to penalize companies that move manufacturing operations abroad. John Deere's lobbying team launched an intensive campaign to defend the company's position. They met with trade officials, congressional staff members, and industry representatives to emphasize John Deere's continued commitment to American manufacturing. Their central argument focused on the company's role as a cornerstone of American agricultural infrastructure. Banning or heavily taxing John Deere equipment would ultimately punish American farmers, who depend on this machinery for their livelihoods. The response from rural America revealed deep divisions within Trump's traditional political base. Social media platforms and local radio shows became battlegrounds where farmers and agricultural workers debated whether to support Trump's position or defend John Deere's business decision. Some viewed the Mexican facility as an inevitable adaptation to global economic realities, while others saw it as a betrayal of the communities that have supported the company for generations. Trump escalated his rhetoric at subsequent campaign rallies, mentioning John Deere by name multiple times and promising tariffs so high they will never forget. These statements generated enthusiastic responses from his audiences, but they also created uncertainty among farmers who depend on John Deere equipment for their operations. The threat of dramatically higher equipment costs creates serious planning challenges for agricultural businesses that operate on thin profit margins. Other major corporations watched this confrontation carefully, understanding that the outcome could establish important precedents for how American companies navigate global expansion in an increasingly politicized environment. If John Deere caves to political pressure, it could signal that no American company can pursue global strategies without facing domestic political retaliation. Conversely, if John Deere successfully maintains its expansion plans, it could encourage other companies to prioritize business logic over political considerations. The broader implications extend far beyond this single corporate decision. John Deere's situation reflects fundamental changes in global manufacturing that go well beyond traditional trade policy debates. The company is investing heavily in automation, artificial intelligence, and autonomous equipment that will transform agriculture regardless of where the machinery is manufactured. John Deere's autonomous tractors are already operating in American fields without human drivers, while their software division develops AI systems that can manage entire farming operations through tablet computers. This technological revolution reveals the limitations of traditional bring back the jobs political rhetoric. Even if John Deere moved all manufacturing back to American soil tomorrow, many of those jobs wouldn't go to human workers. They would go to automated systems and robotic manufacturing equipment. Oxford Economics projects that up to 20 million manufacturing jobs could disappear globally by 2030 due to automation, and this trend is accelerating rapidly across all industries. John Deere's Mexican expansion should be understood in this context. It's not just about avoiding American labor costs, but about positioning the company for a future where traditional manufacturing employment may not exist at all. The company is preparing for an era where competitive advantage comes from technological innovation, production flexibility, and global market access rather than domestic job creation. This conflict represents a collision between two fundamentally different visions of America's economic future. Trump's approach appeals to nostalgia for an era when American manufacturing dominance was unquestioned and when bringing production back to American soil could solve economic challenges. John Deere's approach reflects acceptance that global competition requires strategic flexibility and that technological innovation matters more than geographical location of production facilities. American farmers find themselves caught in the middle of this ideological battle, forced to choose between political loyalty and economic practicality. Many support Trump's political message while simultaneously depending on John Deere equipment for their livelihoods. The prospect of dramatically higher equipment costs due to tariffs creates genuine anxiety among agricultural producers who already face volatile commodity prices and unpredictable weather patterns. The outcome of this confrontation will likely depend on several factors beyond political rhetoric. If John Deere's Mexican facility proves successful in serving Latin American markets while maintaining quality standards, it could validate the company's strategic approach. If Trump wins the presidency and actually implements the threatened tariffs, the economic impact on both John Deere and American farmers will provide a real-world test of whether such aggressive trade policies can achieve their stated objective. What makes this story particularly compelling is how it illuminates broader tensions in American society about globalization, technological change, and economic identity. The John Deere controversy isn't really about one company's manufacturing decisions. It's about whether America can maintain its economic leadership through global engagement or whether that leadership requires retreating from global markets to protect domestic interests. The stakes couldn't be higher. American agriculture depends on advanced, reliable equipment to maintain its productivity and competitiveness in global food markets. If political considerations force American agricultural equipment manufacturers to make economically suboptimal decisions, it could ultimately weaken American agricultural competitiveness. Conversely, if American companies prioritize global competitiveness over domestic political considerations, it could accelerate the ongoing transformation of American manufacturing employment. As this battle continues to unfold, one thing remains certain: the resolution will establish important precedents for how American companies navigate the intersection of global business strategy and domestic politics. The future of American manufacturing, agricultural competitiveness, and trade policy hangs in the balance, making this far more than a simple corporate expansion story. It's a defining moment for American economic strategy in the 21st century.